A new wave of high-tech homes is exploding across the world. Homes that float on water. These two friends attempt to build a tiny waterborne home from scratch.
Oh, look how high it is! I never expected that.
It's a race against the weather.
A lot of fog.
As they join the pioneers, taking the ultimate plunge to design and build their own incredible floating home. We're in Maine. With a long maritime history, it's a magnet for boating enthusiasts who head here to enjoy the coastal waters. Boat building buddies Steve King and Rick Keith come to Maine every summer to restore old boats.
We pretty much do everything together, go boating together. We work together all the time.
Any opportunity I see, any piece of water I look at, I'm on the water. I came up for a week one year, loved it, came up for 2 weeks, and I came up for a month. Now I have a hard time leaving.
Steve is ready to move here to Maine full-time, so he can enjoy the carefree nautical lifestyle year-round. To bring him even closer to the water, Steve is about to take the ultimate plunge. He's planning to design and build a waterborne home, a house that floats on water. He wants to moor it here at this stunning marina in Portland. The mooring will cost him $2,600 a year.
Great people, really nice place, and we've been treated well here.
Homemade floating homes are called shanties, usually known for their low-tech design and spare living quarters. These shanty-style homes are a great opportunity to make innovative use of recycled materials. Here, a circle theme is repeated in the sleeping quarters, and a whimsical boat-shaped portal allows access into the water below. Anything goes. Key features for Steve's shanty home include small size with a roomy feel, hidden storage areas, tall ceilings so he won't bump his head, shanty style made out of recycled materials, and an outdoor deck to take in the ocean views. With a limited budget, they must use all their boat building skills to get this ambitious build off the ground.
I'm like the draftsman, and he's more like the doodler.
Whatever we do, we tend to have to go for originality. We just can't go out and copy somebody else. See some great-looking fishing boats. I like the wrap-round windows of these boats. There's a reality to that where you have the 360 vision. I want something to fit in with the environment. It just blends in a little.
Steve wants his floating home to have an industrial feel and 360-degree views of the marina. He'll design it with a curved ceiling to give plenty of headroom. He'll put the galley at one end with the living room. This leads into a multi-use space for dining and sleeping. Cupboards hidden beneath the seats and the bed will give him plenty of storage space. On the other side, he's building a head or toilet beneath the deck so it doesn't compromise living space. The rear of the shanty-style home will have a large covered deck for entertaining and enjoying the views in all weather. Using recycled materials, they hope to build this float home for just under $10,000. They have just 2 months to build the shanty home in Rick's backyard before winter closes in. First step, create a floating base.
And here we have some framing for the hull.
To make the home's floating foundation, they must create an air-filled waterproof wooden hull. One big hull would roll around with the tides. So they plan to attach 2 smaller catamaran hulls together. They will keep the house stable and level, even in bad weather.
When you're building a catamaran, you're building two hulls, usually identical. Then you sand it, get it nice and fair.
The challenge is to make the twin hulls completely watertight, or the float home will sink.
Ready for a little fiberglass, the real fun stuff.
You put on your first coat of resin, and you fiberglass it, and then you put more and more resin on until you're happy with it, looks good and waterproof, and then you'll paint it.
Next, they must lay a floor between the two floats to form the base of the cabin.
We start out with a plan, but then as we get involved, it evolves as we go along, and that's kind of what keeps it fun.
The wooden frames go up in just a week.
Me and Ricky have been hashing out plans for this boat, and it's been evolving. We've arched the roofs. We thought leaning the sides in gives it more of a nautical feel, and just adds a little more beauty to it. Even though it's a shanty boat, it should look nice.
With their plans changing by the day, they still have no idea if their homemade shanty home will even float.
This is the one moment I'm dreading.
In Portland, Maine, Steve King and Rick Keith have been hard at work creating the wooden frame for their shanty-style float home.
We're trying to build this boat in a sort of a shanty tradition. We're using locally sourced materials. We're not spending too much money.
Once finished, it will be a 320 square foot self-contained floating apartment. Its multi-use living area and sun decks will have spectacular 360-degree views. Rick is trying out an idea that will add extra protection to the rear sun deck.
We just had these boards we were hanging off the back. We were going to cut them off, but now we're thinking, well, add a little more real estate to the roof. It's just something about it's got like an African queen kind of look I like. It's such a small space. We need to design it so that the inside can be part of the outside, kind of a very flexible space.
Fine weather has enabled Steve and Rick to make headway, but it may not hold for much longer.
Very sunny, but this will be over soon. It's going to be freezing rain, and we won't be able to get anything done in freezing rain.
We got a roof.
Next challenge, complete the waterproof seal so they can get to work on the cabin area where Steve will live.
We're putting like a fiberglass flashing in, and then once that cures, we can put the side planking on.
Right now, we're as far as we can go with the sidings. And so we need to make some real window decisions before we can move forward.
Floating homes, big and small, have all-season waterfront views. So window material and design is crucial. Round porthole windows played in the nautical feel, while square staircase windows keep artificial lighting to a minimum. Huge floor-to-ceiling feature windows take in uninterrupted vistas. It's all about the view. Steve's shanty boat might be small, but to take in the big ocean panoramas, he needs the right windows.
Always good to get inspiration in the boatyard. You never know what you're going to find. Nice lines.
Probably all totally self-contained,
I like the wraparound windows. Seeing manufactured boats makes me want to build something unique in a more traditional style.
Yours will look unique, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Steve's had a tip-off about some windows left by the roadside.
Hang on a minute, look at that. They've got to be free. That might be perfect. If this isn't shanty boat building, what is? Free windows. Like it.
Steve now wants to add more windows to increase light, visibility, and make the house easier to navigate once an engine has been added to the rear.
Hopefully this is gonna work okay.
I'm feeling pretty good about the windows. I'm going to put a piece of safety glass on the inside, and we're going to have windows at the front as well, so you're going to have a 360 view. I think this is going to give us pretty good visibility.
The shanty-style float home has had a few coats of paint. And with the launch fast approaching, Rick and Steve are adding the finishing touches. They're visiting a salvage yard to hunt down recycled fittings.
Marine salvage, nautical antiquities. Finding old traditional leftover stuff from other boats feels good. Oh, I wonder what that would go for.
Probably $1,000. I have to keep reining Steve in because he keeps picking up things that are too heavy.
We got ourselves a rock anchor, we got a porthole, we got a life ring, and some rope. So I'm pretty happy. Built this door out of some old planks we got from a friend of ours. Glued it together with some epoxy.
Yeah, we're in sort of a all hands on deck mode here. There's a porthole.
There's just one day left before the big launch.
I have a lot of nightmares about the boat being heavier than it's supposed to be.
If they've got their sums wrong and the house is too heavy, their dream will sink to doom.
If it sits in the water too far, I mean, the waves are going to come right over the decks, and that wouldn't be good at all.
It's taken just 2 months for Rick and Steve to complete their shanty-style float home. Today is move day. It's heading by trailer from Rick's backyard, a short distance to Falmouth Town Landing, where it'll be lowered onto the water. The boys will then take it out into the bay before crossing 9 miles of open ocean to its mooring at Southport Marine. First challenge, raise the 4,600-pound shanty boat so it can be loaded onto a trailer.
Big day for us, a bit nerve-wracking.
Well, we're just jacking up one side at a time. It's car jack. And we're putting cribbing here and cribbing there. I go up about 6 inches at a time. And then we switch to the other side, back and forth.
There we are, we've got it done. The boat is up. Nothing fell apart. We're good to go.
The structure must now survive being wrenched onto the truck.
The challenge is trying to make sure that this boat is set in exactly the right spot so it's not going to move and slide off of the pads.
And we just gotta raise the pads, put some pressure on it, and see how it holds.
Whoa, stop!
If the lifting gear isn't perfectly aligned, the twin floats could twist and shear off.
Little at a time. They can listen for creaks and moans.
There's like 0 deflection in the bottom of the hull. They're fine.
I like the sound of that. I don't hear a thing, Greg. Wonderful job on the hull, guys.
Now they must hit the road.
It's always a little unnerving traveling with a boat down a highway, but it looks stable as it can possibly be. Absolutely can't wait to put it in the water.
He's getting the bottle of champagne. It's traditional to pour a bottle of champagne, especially on a brand new boat.
Let it go! Yay! Not all of it.
It's time to launch. If any water gets into the floating hulls, it's going straight to the bottom of the sea.
I think this is about as close as a guy gets to giving birth. That's good. This is the time to see how this boat floats, see what the water line's going to be. There shouldn't be any sinking, but I don't even want to have that conversation.
It's floating, but if the hull is too heavy, the water will flood over the deck.
This is the one moment I'm dreading.
It's the moment of truth.
Where's she gonna sit? No way. No way. Oh my God, look how high it is.
The homemade shanty float home sits perfectly in the water.
That's beautiful!
Oh, look how high she sits. Oh my goodness.
I never expected that.
That's like 4,000 pounds or something.
My God. It looks good on land. It looks gorgeous in the water.
The waterproofed hull seems to be holding, but with 9 miles of ocean between them and the mooring, Steve's anxious.
I'm checking for leaks, so that's what we always do. You know, you got to make sure. We did a lot of care with this hull. Yeah, we're good. It's looking dry as a bone.
They ask a rescue boat to shadow them in case they spring a leak.
Just gonna follow them across. Be a backup plan in case things fail.
We're going a little old school with just engine off the back and a rudder.
With limited visibility from the back of the boat, Steve uses his big windows to navigate.
She's moving right along, probably doing about 4 or 5 knots with a 4-horse motor.
The homemade shanty house now faces its maiden voyage.
This is the time to see how this boat floats.
In Maine, Rick and Steve have put their lives on the line, attempting a high-risk sea crossing in their untested shanty house. They need to reach the home's mooring 9 miles south.
She handles really well. It's quite seaworthy.
We are the shanty people. We live on shanty boats. We shanty through the harbor with shanty dreams and hopes.
Looks like there's some pretty expensive yachts in there. I think our boat's too good for this place.
The shanty-style floating home may be seaworthy, but Steve's still relieved to see Southport Marina, his new home.
It's a beautiful little marina. It has splendid views of Portland itself, the harbor. I couldn't be any happier if I tried. It's just great.
After just 6 weeks of hard work, Steve's shanty float home is finally fitted out and even has a name.
Here she is, all finished. Here's our shanty cat. 28-foot catamaran. We're very happy.
Its 16-foot long cabin has 3 separate zones: kitchen, living area, and sleeping area.
I really feel like I got the size right for this floating home. I think it's going to work out for friends and family coming over to visit. It's tiny, but it's got a big presence. I'm a big guy, and I do not feel cramped in here. I feel very comfortable. I feel like there's plenty of room to move. You could swing a cat.
His sleeping quarters are at the back of the house, with a bed that doubles as a seat and storage.
And the bed, well, came out great because it fits me comfortably.
A typical shanty galley kitchen sits behind it, with old vegetable crates transformed into drawers.
Nothing complicated, just simple drawers that come out with your goods and other things in there.
Once he adds a stove, he'll be able to cook and heat his water.
Simple reclaimed sink.
The main living area is another multi-use bright and airy space with breezy panoramas.
I think finding these was lucky, but also I think we had the vision to put them in and made use of them. And this is all shanty style, very simple.
It even has a head or toilet hidden in one of the hulls.
So I have in here, we have the marine head, goes back to a holding tank, which collects the waste, and you can pump that out with services from the dock.
Next year, Steve plans to install plumbing to carry water to a pressure shower.
It's a great little space, and it also means your shower's not taking up your living home. I'm happy with this. This came out really well.
Tucked away below the waterline, some handy extra storage.
All 4 corners, you can lift these up, and you have all this room in here to put stuff if you need to.
Outside, a covered deck offers space for entertaining and soaking up the Portland sunsets.
My favorite part of the boat is sheer indoor-outdoor living space. I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun back here.
Just 8 weeks after taking the plunge to design and build a floating home from scratch, Steve has a charming floating man cave with views beyond his wildest dreams, and all for just $10,000.
This feels like a real floating home, you know? It doesn't feel like a boat, a confined boat. It feels so comfortable, so warm, so practical. I'm just beyond happy with it. This is just a great space. I look back here and I think, perfect. It just feels good. I like it.